Today we are diving deep into the topic of carbs, specifically the difference between complex carbs and simple carbs. And I need to have a conversation, about diet culture first, because number one, the vast majority of us have lived a life of demonizing carbs, of being petrified of carbs. And number two, if we are someone who still eats carbs, which seems to be the vast majority in my 10 years in this industry, we're used to calling them good carbs and bad carbs. So in today's episode, we're going to do a little recap of why we need carbs, especially in a menopausal body. And then most importantly, we're going to dive deep for the purposes of today's episode into the different types of carbs, how much of each we should be eating, how to know the difference between them, everything there is about simple and complex carbs. Check it out. I've been in this industry for over 10 years. I personally have never met a menopausal woman successfully losing weight without carbs. Now, not all carbs were created equal. We're going to divide carbs into two categories. We call them simple carbs and complex carbs. And if you've hung out here before, you know I will never use the words good carbs and bad carbs, or allowed carbs and not allowed carbs, because number one, they're all allowed. And number two, I happen to think Krispy Kreme donuts are good. They're fantastic. They're one of my greatest joys in life. And they're not the most nutritious carb. So today we're going to dive deep into the difference between complex carbs and simple carbs and how to find that balance in how we eat them. The theme of complex carbs, these are the carbs that in the past, in diet culture, you may have heard them referred to as good carbs, right? Complex carbs are more nutritionally dense. They have more vitamins, they have more minerals, they have a lot more fiber. So when we're talking about complex carbs, we're talking about things like sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are one of my favorite. Every time I talk about sweet potatoes, I'm like, I don't know how this is a nutritious food because it tastes like candy to me. It's too good to be true. Sweet potatoes, fantastic source of complex carbs. Things like brown rice, jasmine rice. I don't really love brown rice. I love jasmine rice. I eat a decent amount of jasmine rice. Quinoa, oatmeal, right? As I'm going through this list, it's like, oh yeah, I've always called those the good carbs. Yeah, they're the most nutritious carbs. That's why they were labeled in diet culture the good carbs. Now, you heard me say that the theme of complex carbs is they tend to be more nutritious, right? They have more vitamins and minerals, and they tend to have the most fiber. Fiber is a powerhouse for every human alive, especially in menopause. Fiber is going to help you lose weight. Fiber is going to help regulate blood sugar. Fiber is going to help your heart health. It is a powerhouse. I have past episodes all about fiber. We have a guide that I'll include with this episode all about fiber. 10 out of 10 recommend. You'll hear me talk about in that fiber episode that the key is to slowly increase. Most of us are wildly not getting enough fiber in, and if you try to go 0 to 100, you'll never go to the bathroom again. So we need to work to slowly increase fiber. But that's one of the big reasons that complex carbs are what we used to call the good carbs, right? It's the vitamins, it's the minerals, and it's the fiber that tends to come along with it. The theme of simple carbs. So we have complex carbs, we have simple carbs. The theme of simple carbs tends to be sugar. So you heard me reference one of my favorite foods, favorite things on the face of the earth, Krispy Kreme donuts. Are Krispy Kreme donuts the most nutritious thing out there? Unfortunately, in Rachel's rules of health and fitness, if I could wave my magic dumbbell, yes, that is not the reality of this universe in which we live. Krispy Kreme donuts are carbs and fat. And the carbs that they're made, unfortunately, not a lot of protein either. The carbs they're made up of are simple carbs because the theme is sugar, right? If you think about Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs, the things that we used to demonize and call the bad foods, the theme to those carbs is sugar. Now, where I draw the line in the sand and do not agree with diet culture is the all or nothing mindset. What I will never tell someone, in fact, I'm going to go the opposite. What I will never tell someone is you can only have complex carbs, you should never have simple sharp carbs. I feel the complete opposite. I think it's important to have simple carbs now and then. Of course, we want to focus on the more nutritious complex carbs. And I think it is important to fit in those more fun, simple carbs now and then, because we all know what happens when we put our horse blinders on, say, I can't, and then one day we have one donut, and next thing we know, we're down the rabbit hole of 6, because I've already messed up my diet, and I'll start again on Monday, and there I go. when we can learn to stop demonizing food and say, you know what? This donut isn't the most nutritious, right? It's simple carbs, it's a lot of sugar, and I have been craving a donut for 2 weeks now. I'm going to fit it into my nutrition plan, and I didn't cheat. I didn't splurge. I don't have to go down a rabbit hole. I'm still hitting my goals, and I can enjoy a donut, and it's not that big a deal. The thing we hear time and time again from women is this healed my relationship with food, which happens organically. We don't have to force that part. And this is where that stems from. When we stop thinking of foods as good, bad, allowed, not allowed, when we encourage might be a strong word, but I'm going to use it here. I encourage women. Some people love to eat totally clean. I'm not going to encourage you in that case. But if you are someone who's like, Rachel, I can't have a donut because if I have one, I'll have six. Or I can't have a cookie because if I have one, I'll eat the whole pack. I'm going to encourage you to start learning how to fit one or two into your plan so we can rewire our brain away from that diet culture all in, all out mindset. So that was a bit of a rabbit hole. It's one of the most important rabbit holes that I will always go down. For the purposes of today, complex carbs are the more nutritious fiber-rich carbs. Simple carbs are the more sugar-based carbs. There's one more point to this conversation that's important, and that's the topic of fruit. Again, I have a much, much older podcast all about fruit, but here's what we need to understand. If someone ever tells you don't eat fruit because of the sugar, kick them in the groin and run away. That's extreme. Don't do that. That is the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. Let's just think about this logically before we dig deeper into this. Do we really think that the sugar in a banana is the same as the sugar in Lucky Charms? Right? Does that make logical sense? No, it is not the same conversation. The reason that fruit gets demonized is because it is higher in sugar. And those are natural sugars. Those are not Lucky Charm Krispy Kreme donut sugars. Fruit also has a tremendous amount of fiber. It varies fruit to fruit, but as a general statement, fruit is a fantastic source of vitamins, of minerals, of fiber, of all the things we're talking about that are the nutritious carbs. Fruit, in my opinion, is one of the best places that you can be quote unquote spending your carbs because of how nutritious and fiber packed they are. So when I hear these people saying, I don't eat fruit because someone told me it's going to make me fat because of the sugar. Like, whoever told you that advice, I say this sincerely, they need to get out of the nutrition industry because number one, they don't know what they're talking about. And number two, they're doing more harm than good. And I get passionate about this because the number of women that I've worked with over the past 10 years, and they're like, I'm eating bananas again. I'm eating fruit again. I feel incredible. And it's like, how are we telling women that fruit is the devil, but bacon is okay? Like, what kind of diet culture are we living in where bananas are evil, but eat all the bacon you want? It makes absolutely no sense. And it drives me bananas because I hate the nutrition industry. That's why. Real quickly, fiber is one of those topics that I put it under the categories of shoulds, right? We know we should be getting more of it in, and we don't often know what that looks like. So I've put together a super simple fiber guide to show you exactly what to look for and where to get some more fiber. You can use the link in the show notes below to grab your copy. Now, let's get back to the show. So, in summation, eat your carbs. You need them, especially, that's true for every human being, especially in a menopausal body. It is nearly impossible to lose weight without carbs because it is nearly impossible to control your cortisol levels without carbs. When we're looking at carbs, we've got two types. We've got our complex carbs and our simple carbs. The theme of complex carbs is more nutrient dense, more fiber packed. Side note, they're also slow burning. I have an older podcast episode called What to Eat Before and After You Work Out. Spoiler alert. Complex carbs are fantastic pre-workout. If you haven't checked out that episode, it's a popular one. And we talk about in detail what to eat before you work out, obviously. Complex carbs are a great pre-workout choice because they're slow burning energy. The other side of carbs are simple carbs. The theme is sugar. That's where we've got our Lucky Charms, our Cocoa Puffs, our Krispy Kreme donuts, the foods we used to call bad, but we're just going to call less nutritious now. Those tend to be faster burning energy. So they're better post-workout because you get refueled faster. Not great pre-workout because it's going to burn too fast. Again, I have a whole podcast episode on that. Big concept here, most important concept in my opinion, is it is not good, bad, allowed, not allowed. I think it's important to, yes, of course, focus on those more nutritious complex carbs the majority of the time and still allow for those less nutritious, more fun, simple carbs. In the middle, in the gray area here, is fruit. Eat your fruit. Fruit is a fantastic carb source. It is packed with vitamins, minerals, fibers, all the good stuff that we want. I get it. Carbs are scary. We live in a society that tells us carbs make us fat. Sometimes I get a little cheeky when a woman comes to me and says, "Yeah, but in my 20s, 30s, early 40s, I lost weight using carbs." My answer is, "How's that working out for you now?" Right? Because we are not living in the same body as our 20s, 30s, early 40s, and the same tool bag doesn't work. And I say it with all the love in the world because I care about you too much not to. If it was going to still work, it would have worked by now. It is incredible how much your body changes and how quickly your body changes when you start giving it carbs. I could do a whole other podcast episode about the number of women who have come to us petrified of carbs, eating virtually no carbs or super low carb, and within not months, but weeks, because we don't ever go 0 to 100. It's a slow incline. It's a slow increase to start adding them back in, or your body will freak out. You have to do it very meticulously. But the feedback we hear of, holy cow, not just mentally. I mean, mentally, yes. I'm eating pasta again? What? Where has this been for the past 20 years? But carbs are our energy source. You start putting gas in a car, it starts running a heck of a lot better. So what we hear from these women is, I cannot believe how much better I'm feeling, how much more energy I have, which you know is my thing. Energy is everything, by slowly increasing my carbs. Do not go 0 to 100. We need to slowly reintroduce them. Your body will change. Your life will change. Your energy will change. Every human being needs carbs, especially in a menopausal body.